Hi guys, Jessica Painderis here, or Jess as I went by 2 decades ago at Loomis. I'm here today to talk about the top 5 things I've learned about art collecting in the past 5 years. 5 years ago, I had never even purchased an original work of art, and now I'm fortunate enough to have a pretty legit collection, which happened pretty organically. My husband and I tried to fill empty walls in our first home in Brooklyn. Despite graduating Yale with a history of art degree, working in a marketing capacity at Christie's Auction House, and running my own art market business, the Clarion List, which was like a Yelp for the art world, I had no direct transactional experience and learned on the go. Here are my 5 tips I learned to help you start collecting. Tip 1, collect what you love and don't worry about the ROI. I know when you're investing your disposable income, you want to make a good investment, but you're very unlikely to strike the jackpot and invest in the next Jackson Pollock as a new collector. The art market has gotten too sophisticated and globalized in the last few decades, and it's really hard for a novice to compete and strike gold. Plus, you're the one that has to live with the work every day and look at it. Only you will have to look at it, so you have to really love it. If you're spending under 5, 10, 20K, and some would argue under 50K, don't worry about the return on value. Love it, or at least really, really like it. Love looking at it, love knowing the artist's intention and story, love your experience and story finding it and buying it. You may have it the rest of life, or you may hand it down the road. If you're lucky, you may be able to resell it, but don't stress about doubling your investment in 10 years because chances are you won't. Tip number 2, look. So how do you figure out what you love? You have to train your eye, and the only way to do so is to look at art as much as you can. First of all, go to local galleries. Try to find the younger galleries with newer artists, often called emerging artists. That's the way to find more affordable works. For example, in Manhattan, Lower East Side is a great place to start. And look for little gallery guides at the entryway of a lot of these galleries, actual maps that you can find other galleries. Another example is in Bushwick, Brooklyn. 56 Bogart is a warehouse that houses a lot of younger galleries. A second way to figure out what you love, go to art fairs. Art Basel Miami Beach is a fun destination in December. It's accessible to the public for a small entrance fee, and there's also about 10 satellite fairs with younger galleries that you can access. Also, many major U.S. cities have small fairs, such as Art Market San Francisco, Texas Contemporary Houston, so find out what's happening on the local level where you live. And the third way to look at art is to search Instagram. It's truly been a boom for the art market. You can find artists and galleries anywhere in the world. Be sure to follow them and follow their tags as well. Tip number 3, if you see something, save something. Sometimes you find something you like, but the price might be a little bit of a stretch, or you're not quite ready to pull the trigger and buy it. So take a photo of the art and the wall label and save it somewhere, to a specific album in your phone, to Pinterest, research it on Artsy and save it there. I've actually made quite a few purchases years after first discovering a work of art. Tip number 4, the gallery is your friend. Yes, galleries can be intimidating, but keep in mind they are retail businesses. They want to sell to you. Don't be afraid to ask for a price list. Don't feel embarrassed if it's 10 times what you expected. A good gallery is going to use the opportunity to talk to you about the artist, and that you can learn about perhaps other works that are not on display that might be more in your price range. Perhaps there's a study for a painting, for example, or the artist has a prints. And it's a great opportunity to just learn more about the artist and get on their the gallery's email list, so you can be notified about future works down the road. Tip number 5, negotiate the price and beware hidden fees. So typically there is a little room for negotiation on the price, so don't be afraid to try to do so. And beware that there are hidden fees. For example, proper framing to preserve the art can be very expensive. My first purchase of fine art photography had a frame. I added a frame that ended up being more expensive than the work itself. Shipping and proper installation fees are also added expenses. So it's possible if the gallery can install it for free as part of your negotiation. If they can't knock down the price, that's a great idea. I hope I have added a little transparency about art collecting today. Happy to chat more in the Toucan group in a bit. Or you can email me. I'm actually making moves to open my own art consultancy soon and would absolutely love to help all you Loomis classmates to enjoy owning art.
Hi everyone, greetings from San Francisco. Wow, has it been 5 years already since we last saw each other? On the one hand, our last reunion doesn't seem like that long ago. On the other hand, man, it's been a crazy 5 years, especially the last 18 months. Some highlights from my journey since 2016. I quit my job, started a new company out of a spare bedroom in my house with two of my former coworkers, cobbled together a scrappy team and launched an MVP, successfully sold our product to an initial set of enterprise customers, including DoorDash, Stanford University, Expedia, Activision, a couple of others, raised a Series A venture capital round, continued to grow the company to about 25 employees. Global pandemic hits, upending everything. Slack acquires our company, over Zoom, of course. And then several months later, Salesforce agrees to acquire Slack. Azalea completes kindergarten, and last but certainly not least, and coming in just under the wire before reunion, this past April, Jeanette and I welcomed our second kid, baby boy Amari. But what have I learned through all this madness? I give you Neville's top 5. I learned that pants are overrated. Why invest time and money into pants when no one can see you below the waist? Instead, all you need to do is... Oh, what was that? Oh, shit. Pandemic's ending? Oh, never mind. On to number 4. I learned that you should never attempt a whole house remodel. Do yourself a favor. Move to a new house instead. Jeanette and I started our remodel a few months after the last reunion. And today, after nearly 5 years, 2 architects, multiple permit challenges, endlessly escalating construction costs, a global pandemic, I can finally say that it's not done yet. That said, hopefully we'll cross the finish line in the next few months here. And once we do, you all, of course, are welcome to visit anytime you're out here in San Francisco. I learned that droughts are no joke and the effects of climate change are becoming more and more pronounced, especially when they lead to massive forest fires, as was the case last summer here in California. This is a photo taken from outside my apartment at 10 o'clock in the morning on a particularly apocalyptic day last fall. Lest we see many more days like this crazy one last September, we need to start paying more attention to how our actions affect the environment. I've personally started looking more closely at the implications of my own actions on greenhouse emissions, since a number of the side effects have been manifesting on my doorstep, quite literally, these last few years. I've learned that kids are amazing and that the world needs more of them. It's been a joy seeing my daughter Azalea, who's now 6, grow up so much over the last 5 years. I found it so fascinating seeing just how much personality kids radiate from such an early age, and then watching their personalities evolve and grow over time. Their curiosity, sense of humor, adaptability, challenges, and accomplishments truly keep you on your toes. I'm excited to see how Azalea will grow over the next 5 years, and I can't wait to see how Amari starts to express his own personality in the coming months. I learned that starting your own business is an incredibly fulfilling experience. You engage and expand your mind in ways you never possibly could have imagined. And while it's a lot of work and at times quite stressful, it's incredibly energizing at the same time. For those of you who haven't had the chance, I really encourage everyone to give it a shot at some point. Starting a business has always been a dream of mine, and so I am thankful to have found that opportunity to do so over the last 5 years. And I look forward to repeating the exercise again at some point in the not too distant future. That's all from me. Looking forward to seeing everyone again in person real soon.
Hi, everybody. Hard to believe we're already 20 years post-Loomis graduation, but over the last 15 years in my career, I've been in the investment management industry, and in 2016, I launched my investment fund, Papyrus Capital, which I merged into a larger asset manager in 2020, and wrote a book, Downside Protection, on investing in 2019, and book number 2 is in the works, which I'm excited about. In terms of how I think about investing, what I do is I really think about large-scale secular changes in the world and how they're affecting the way we live and work. And one of those changes, as Neville said, climate change is real, and we think that electric vehicle adoption is really one of the ways to offset carbon emissions. And Tesla is clearly leading the charge right now, pun intended. But as legacy automakers are shifting to electric vehicles, we think there are sort of three mitigating factors right now to wide scale adoption. So those are time to charge, range versus a gas powered car, and charging infrastructure, which really only exists on the coasts. In terms of time to charge, there's new semiconductor substrates being created that will charge at higher voltages, which will reduce the time to charge. In terms of range, battery efficiency is improving by the day. And in terms of number of charging stations, Biden's infrastructure plan calls for 500,000 new charging stations over the next few years, which will mitigate that problem. So we think electric vehicle adoption really increases over time. And my advice on that front is, because these cars are changing so quickly, kind of like a computer, they go obsolete in a few years. So if you can stand the mileage caps, if you're in the market for one today, lease instead of buy, because there's not going to be much residual value to those cars manufactured today in the future. Second, we think this sort of data, AI, 5G networks, this whole data super cycle we're seeing is a really big trend. And in COVID, you saw a lot of factories shift to automation and automated robots to replace workers that couldn't come into work. And what ends up happening is a positive feedback loop there, where the more of these automated bots you have doing jobs, the more data, if they do something one way, it doesn't work, then they do it a second way, then all of that data of the trial and error goes back to the data center, it gets analyzed, and it gets adopted for future usage to make these machines more efficient. And we think that 5G networks, which will enable more sort of flow of data from these machines in the field back to the data center, will only accelerate some of those trends. And so we think that enables a lot of really interesting and cool technologies like autonomous cars, drone package delivery, and the list goes on. But that's sort of how we're thinking about some secular trends that are changing the way we live and work today. And just in terms of a little bit of investing advice, my take on it is that you invest in a trend that you see and that you think is really happening. You invest with the right people you're comfortable with, and you don't sweat the small volatility, the small changes, volatility. You think about the long run. As we're all thinking about our children and ourselves and saving. That's sort of how I think about my career in investing. Hopefully, that's helpful advice.
Hey guys, it's Kate Brochu, formerly Kate Noonan, or maybe more simply remembered as Noonan from back in the Loomis Chaffee days. It's so great to be reconnecting with everybody. I really wish that we were able to do this live, but after the crazy year we've all just had, I'm grateful for any opportunity to reconnect with our old classmates. Joy reached out a few weeks ago, asked if I'd be willing to talk about my parenting experience in the last decade of being a mom. And I'm always happy to do that. Plenty of experience that are worthy of a share. But after listening to so many accomplishments of our classmates, and I'm truly blown away by those, I realized with complete certainty that my name was only inadvertently added to the distribution list. And the privilege to be coupled with some of the amazing high achievers of our class, it truly is very flattering. So a little bit more about me. I decided to take an intentional pause after a few years in media to raise my three sons, Liam, Finian, and Cameron. I have recently returned to the workforce working for a global publisher called Everyday Health Group. And the best part is that I'm working within their pregnancy and parenting space. So it resonates so organically with me after having spent 7 years home with the boys and just knowing that I'm delivering essential, meaningful content to moms and helping to support maternal mental health. It's always a plus. So I thought I would share with you guys the top 5 parenting hacks that I learned in the last decade of being a mom, and I cannot believe that I will have been a mom now for almost 10 years this August. But I'll start with the first hack I really appreciated was always carrying a set of nail clippers in the car. And that's because babies always fall asleep in their car seats, and it is the easiest, best time to cut their fingernails when they're contained and not squirming on your lap or crawling away from you. I was always afraid I was going to clip their little fingers. Two, recently I just did this. I don't know what took so long, but I have a set of toothbrushes under the bathroom sink downstairs. Redirecting the train in the morning and trying to get the kids to go back upstairs after they've already come downstairs for breakfast is always really hard for me. So I finally wised up, put a set of toothbrushes underneath the bathroom sink, and now I don't need to lie to the dentist when she asks how often the children are brushing their teeth. The third thing that I did to help my mornings run just a little bit more smoothly is I leave the children's daily vitamin next to the coffee maker. I need caffeine to function as an adult in the morning, and after those first few sips of coffee, I turn and I see their daily vitamins, and it always ensures that they actually get them every morning after I've been able to digest a little bit of coffee in the morning. The fourth thing that I think is a parenting must is to always, always, always have a change of clothes in your car without fail. That's going to be for children and adults, by the way. Without fail, if someone's going to get sick, they're going to get sick on you. If some baby's going to have a blowout, it's going to be while you're holding them in your arms. So it's always smart to have a second set of clothes for the whole family. The number one parenting tip and piece of advice that I want to share is my favorite, and it's always to strive for grace, not perfection. Parenting is so incredibly difficult. It is so layered, and it is so unique to each and every one of us. Parenting journeys are defined so differently, and many of them are not linear, and many of us are maybe in the same boat, but definitely navigating different seas. So I always tell myself, grace over perfection. The house is never going to be clean. There's always going to be dirty laundry, but just to take a step back, go for grace, and navigate it at my own pace, that usually helps redirect my brain so that it's a little bit more calm in our household. And at the end of the day, we're all doing our best, and our best is certainly enough. So those are my hacks. Those are my parenting tips. I hope we can connect in the next breakout. And I really hope that we'll all be able to see each other again soon, live and in person.
Hi folks, John Saunders here. Since graduating, I started a machine shop called Saunders Machine Works, and we've documented this process over on a YouTube channel called NYC CNC. We mostly use these large metal cutting machines, but we've started to use 3D printing a lot more to support some of our operations and how we make and prototype stuff. So I thought I'd talk really quickly about what 3D printing is. Most hobby level printing is called FDM printing. It's basically extrusion, kind of like you squeeze toothpaste out of a tube. This does so with a really small bead of thermoplastic in a really accurate way. And it's awesome because these printers are super easy to use, they're super inexpensive, you can make just about anything, and they're really becoming quite prolific. In fact, the old Snug is now the Pierce Hub for Innovation, where they've got a bunch of maker equipment, including 3D printers. So as we're seeing more emphasis around the STEM style curriculums, it's awesome because 3D printing gives you a chance to see the software side of things as well as creating something in the physical world. And this ranges from set props to R&D or prototypes, jigs. You can even 3D print a functional crescent wrench. And my son and I are making a Formula One car right now where we printed the uprights, and we could even print squishy wheels. So you can print different types of plastic. What's great is that historically, so many manufacturing techniques required heavy equipment, expensive equipment, stuff that wasn't safe. 3D printing really solves a lot of that problem with one relatively small, safe to use machine. If you want to learn more, there's some great software out there now called Autodesk Fusion 360, which is available for free for hobbyists and students. There's two really popular websites called Thingiverse and GrabCAD, which have a huge repository of free 3D printed models. You can just download and print them. Two of my favorite YouTube channels are 3D Printing Nerd and Maker's Muse. Tons of information to learn and get started. And if you are looking for a printer, we've had a lot of luck with the Prusa printers. They have about a $400 version and a $1,000 version, but they're very reliable printers. I hope this was educational, and looking forward to seeing everybody at Reunion.
Hello, Pelicans. My name is Nana Mensa. I am coming to you extremely made up and not at all resembling what I look like in my normal life. I am completing a long day of Zoom press junkets for my film Queen of Glory, which many of you helped me kickstart a few years ago. So thank you for that. I am here to share with you the top 5 things that I've learned about the entertainment industry. So, number 5, no is just a starting point to a negotiation. I think persistence is key. Not when you're an actor. When you're an actor, you don't really have a lot of power. But once you start writing and directing and producing, a lot of people need to be onboarded to your dream, to your vision, and a lot of people are going to say no. and you can circle back. It's okay. Don't worry. It doesn't make you desperate. That said, the other side of that coin, so this is like 5A or 5B, is don't be afraid of saying no. I think instinct is a muscle, and we need to you need to rehearse. You need to flex it. Because if you're overwhelmed, you need to offload things off your plate. Like, just say no. Number 4, no new friends, to quote DJ Khaled and Drake. But not literally, but I do think that there is something to be said about having relentlessly honest and brave communication, be that with friends, with the people in your lives that have been there for a long time, that have seen you grow. I think it's really important to keep some people around who can call you on your shit. Number 3, naps. Naps, they're not just for kids. I learned this lesson way too late, but now that I've learned it very well. It is so important when you are having a really shitty day to remember that it's never too late to start your day over. So just get on the couch, set a little timer for 20 minutes, or my favorite, take a shot of espresso and then lie down, and you wake up naturally. It's beauty. Next, I think I'm on 2, maybe not, I don't know. Everyone has imposter syndrome because everyone is an imposter. We are all out here faking it till we make it. So don't look at what somebody else has got or what somebody else has achieved and decide that you can't even start, because we are all out here lying to each other and ourselves. So go for it. Might as well go get what you want. And then the last, my favorite, is an old adage from filmmaking, which is there's good, there's cheap, and there's fast. Pick 2. And that has been really instrumental to me in my journey of realizing sometimes that good things take time because you don't have money or you're under-resourced. So it really, that's it. So thank you guys so much for listening. I'm really sorry I couldn't be there in the breakout groups, but I'm coming at you live from London, England. So I'm 5 hours ahead of Eastern time, and that therefore makes it a little past my bedtime to gather with you all. But hopefully I'll catch you at the next one.